Resilience. Resilience has become topical, especially rising out of the pandemic and other disruptive activities. So, the question to you today is, are you comfortable with your level of resilience? Is that a kind of not so clever question in the sense that could I say that I'm an A plus person in terms of resilience and therefore I'm all right, I don't need to improve? Is that a realistic approach? Um, how do you thrive in the face of adversity? And the question I also have is, do you feel as if you have street smarts? Hi, I'm Trevor E.S. Smith. I'm with the Success with People Academy, and I want to welcome you to today's Success with People livecast. We want to explore two big wins today in the little time that you spend with me. We try to get out of here somewhere in the region of 30 minutes. And so just ask you to stick around. I have a special invitation for you today, which would have impact in your lives. So stick around till the end. And what we will do, I want to explore with you 4 riveting case studies of how individuals have used DISCerning communication principles. In other words, dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness to drive their resilience to produce outstanding results. I want you to just join me in that very intriguing journey. But as usual, we're going to provide you with practical steps towards enhancing your resilience so that you can be better equipped to go through and better navigate life's unfolding events. So we want to start by looking at the D style, dominance, in our DISCerning communication framework. And we want to look at someone who champions it. I think LeBron James, where did I get Brown? LeBron James is a champion of that. So we know, okay, fine. Those of you who are up to date will realize that, okay, fine, he just got swept in a conference final. But this might just open another challenge for LeBron. But for me, LeBron has epitomized what we understand to be these style behaviors: his leadership on and off the field, his decision making in games, man, and also the capacity to take charge when the clock is running down or in the fourth quarter. Those kinds of things come from a D-style philosophy. And so even though he might be injured, or you might get. You remember when he was 3-1 down and everybody said, "Hey, it's done." Nobody has ever come back from that, but he whipped the Golden State Warriors and won the crown. So this is the kind of I like to look at it, maybe this style cussedness, where you're going to look defeat, look challenges, look adversity in the face and move on. Another big one was 2010, 2011, when he used his leadership to pull together a team to go down and join Dwayne Wade at the Heat. And he got a lot of heat for it. But at the end of the day, he has rings to prove that his decision was right. So LeBron, to me, exemplifies this type of behavior in terms of moving towards resilience. And so that idea of facing challenges head on, staying confident, and also the determination that underpins this style behavior, that to me is the epitome of using dominance, that this style behavior, in the quest for resilience. All right, let's look at the I style. And for me, Steve Jobs is the epitome of using innovation and creativity as tools to drive resilience. Now that sounds strange because sometimes we think about resilience as putting up some kind of a solid wall, and toughness. But here, Steve used innovation and creativity. Remember, this is the guy who actually found the company, did all of this kind of stuff, and then got kicked out. But when he got kicked out, man, when he came back, that's when the magic of his reliance on innovation and creativity. Now, I'm not saying that these guys didn't use other tools, by the way. Clearly you don't get to be the top of the organization with you using some D style and some S style and some C style. But I'm talking about the primary vehicle. And the primary vehicle for Steve's excellence was his focus on the I style, the creativity, the innovation, the capacity to sell ideas. Here it is that before Steve Jobs, we didn't know that we had to have this little device within arm's length at all time. Yeah, let's think about that. That concept of idea that we couldn't, if we ever left home without our little mobile device, we would be in a quandary. That didn't exist before. So what I'm saying is, here's an idea of resilience that came from selling ideas that we didn't even know, selling needs that we didn't even know that we had. And so that's one of the things that you want to look at as well. When we look at innovation and creativity, when we look at resilience, we looked at the use of dominance. Here, we're looking at I style, the capacity to show charismatic leadership, sell people ideas, get the team together. And guess what? Transform cultures. That's one of the things that Steve has done. And even now, after his death, Apple still continues to have this culture of excellence, this culture of innovation and creativity. May not be to the extent of Steve, but who knows? So let's look at the S style now. We're looking at Nelson Mandela. To me, is the primary candidate for demonstrating how the S style can drive resilience. Can you believe this? That we're looking at the S style, and we tend to think of the S style as humble, as submissive, as sort of retiring to the background. How could that be resilience? Well, here we go. Nelson Mandela built his resilience around this whole idea of empathy and unity. Yes? And we know the journey. Who can come from prison to be president of a large country? But it was driven by this whole idea of justice and peace and equality. All these are embraced in S-style behavior. And so that even during his 27 years of imprisonment, he demonstrated these qualities. He rallied his colleagues in prison, or if you want to call them colleagues, his inmates, and for himself, he maintained hope, he built relationship, and ultimately he drove positive change. Same thing when he actually became the leader. He showed the same demeanor, same ability to listen, because remember, there was a conflict-ridden society. Still is now to some extent, but that capacity to sit down and to listen and to come from a place that drew the respect of others because of the genuine concern for humanity, the genuine concern for peace and equality. Those are S-style qualities that Mandela demonstrated. He promoted collaboration. He wanted to have dialogue, and he, embrace diversity. Those are things that enhance resilience, right, and help us individually and collectively to overcome adversity. And so, just think about how fractured the South African society was, pre-Mandela. One of the things that we have to look at now, I'm not suggesting again that these stalwarts used only one style, but there was a key focus on a strategy that worked well. And one of the things that we have to look at is to see how we can embrace these tools, whether it is dominance, whether it is inducement, influence, or whether it is steadiness in our framework, DISCerning communication framework. Those things can be incorporated in our own quest for being more resilient. And we can look at it not only from ourselves, but as Mandela did, we transform a whole society. As Jobs did, he transformed a whole organization. LeBron has impacted lives well beyond his own personal environment. So this now, Elon Musk has become to this C style. I know, yes, very controversial, especially now with all of this Twitter situation. But let us go pre-Twitter, okay? Still controversial, but at least not as controversial, but as no. But here, if you look at Elon Musk, at the core of his resilience is his reliance on his C-style behavior in terms of compliance wanting, in terms of conscientiousness, in terms of using systems, in terms of probing deeper, in terms of really dissecting situations, getting to root causes, and looking then to see how we can make things work that didn't work. How can we improve on things that are working, so that capacity for digging deeper, for being more analytical, that's basically how Elon Musk has been able to achieve so much. We have to give respect. I mean, this is a man that actually bring back the spacecraft to land like a plane. I just recently had an opportunity to drive in a Tesla. Beautiful, wonderful. So you don't come from nowhere and become a leader in an industry like the automotive industry without some special thing going for you. So that's the idea here, that he has embraced what we call C-style behavior to drive his resilience, and it works. So those are 4 case studies that we want to look at, but the message so far is, let us, as we strive to craft our resilience, let us understand that we have this bag of tools, this behavioral bag of tools that we can use to drive our own resilience. There are times when we need to be dominant, we need to be driven, we need to be direct, we need to be really, in a sense, as it says, dominant, be independent, take charge, make things happen. There are other times when we need to be innovative, creative, when we need to sell ideas, we need to bring people on board, we need to be charismatic. There are other times when we can be a part of the team, when we can try to make people whole, where we can pour oil on troubled waters, where we can actually rally the team, where we could say all for one, one for all. There are times also when we can be critical, when we can be analytical, where we can actually look at systems, where we can dissect things to see what doesn't work and how we can make it work better. All of those factors help us to drive our own resilience. Oh, this is going somewhere for you. So I don't think we need to emphasize this anymore. But for me, when we think about resilience in today's environment, to me, street smarts come to mind, in the sense that, first of all, we have to understand the social dynamics. We need to understand what's at play, what's the culture like. Yeah, we're not going to survive. We're not going to survive if we fail to understand what's happening around us. What is the operating environment like? What are people thinking? What are their aspirations? What are their goals? What are their fears? Those kinds of things are important for us. This understanding of self as well, and understanding of others, that's situational awareness. Critical thinking, those are important factors as we think about resilience. So it's not just a cussedness, it's just that I'm tough and whatever you bring, I can withstand. No, the idea is to bring a whole basket of things together, including key of understanding ourselves and understanding others to the process of being resilient and thriving, not just surviving, but thriving as life throws its various challenges at us. So the discerning communication approach that we are advocating then includes then applying this framework where we look at a classification system for how people respond to life's unfolding events. So we have dominance, influence, steadiness, supportiveness, and conscientiousness. That's the DISC framework. We have built upon that DISC framework to come up with this discerning communication model model. So that's basically the idea, is that if we seek to use this framework to understand self, understand others, read into situations, read into behavioral styles, then we can be able to connect better. We can remove a lot of conflicts. A lot of conflicts come down to misunderstanding each other because of behavioral differences. We can persuade people to take action, just like Steve Jobs did, right? And we can also develop relationships. And believe me, if you understand resilience, relationships are a key factor in resilience. So that's the framework. We're saying get to understand self, get to understand others better, and inevitably you're going to be more resilient. If we have teams, if we have organizations that focus on helping people to understand themselves and understanding their teammates better, that organization is going to be more resilient. There's no question at all about it. So that's it. It's building resilience on the platform of a deeper understanding of self, a deeper understanding of others, and that is the key to resilience. So, what about you? What about me? I have a preference. I have, a set of tools that I prefer to use as I navigate through life. But should I only rely on that? I'm suggesting to you, and please don't go back and say, but you just showed me that LeBron used this D. Yeah, but I don't know that he could have only used this D to convince people to, pull up and come and play for the Heat. So all I'm just suggesting to you is, and I don't see that Mandela could be president and go through all of those challenges unless he had a robust D in him as well. So I'm just saying that while we might have a preference for a particular style, one of the keys that we need to do is to understand when to flex, when to move, what it is, what is the situation requiring. If we're in a situation where decisiveness is important, then that's the behavior that we need to demonstrate. We want to commiserate with somebody who has just lost a family member, different approach. So that's basically what we're saying, is that think resilience, think flexibility. We want to flex from our preferred style to the best approach in the given situation. That's the heart of resilience. And so how do we actually go about it? I have no apologies. I'm just suggesting to you that self-awareness must be the first step. If we understand ourselves well, and I know people are going to say, but it's foolishness. I know myself. Look how long I've been living with me. Yes, I agree. I can tell you that there are ways, there are little nuances, there are things that we're missing. And we cannot identify those things without an objective, sophisticated behavioral assessment. I'm telling you, I've gone through it myself. I've learned things about myself that have been very, very helpful. And I'm just suggesting to you. And by the way, I work a lot with leaders, with people that ask me, okay, fine, help me. Let me see. You know, what is it that I can tweak? How it is that I can move in order to achieve better results? And inevitably, out of the behavioral DNA assessments that we provide with them with, I find it, I can say to them, hey, you want to examine this a little bit more? Or here is something that I want you to explain for me. Tell me, why is this so? And in that discourse, we identify a blind spot, or we identify a limiting factor. And we can say, okay, fine, over the next 3 to 4 months, I want you to work on these areas, and I want you to reinforce these other areas. That's part of what it is that will build resilience. But you cannot, I'm suggesting, get to this place without some kind of objective analysis outside of yourself, some psychometric assessment. Suggestion. That's all I'm suggesting. All right. The other thing now is that having understood ourselves at a deeper level, we need to be able to use that to read situations better, understand who it is that we're talking about. You know, this time talks about designers need to understand people. It's the same thing. We are designing life the way that we want it, and we need to understand who it is that we're talking to, what is the environment in which we are operating, before we can actually put out solutions that land well. So this idea of flexibility, I don't care what style you're coming from, look at what is required in this particular environment and work towards adapting your style. Idea of this is who I am, this is how I am, this is how I've always been, that doesn't work. We need now to understand the idea that here I am, and I am a flexible individual. I will use my knowledge of behaviors to select the appropriate behavior for every situation. That's the ideal. And as we're moving in that direction, we're moving towards greater levels of resilience. Active listening. Next time, I'm actually going to have a full live cast on listening, DISCerning, listening. But this is the key. This is the key. If we learn to listen to people's behavior, stand in their shoe, we are able to foster trust, empathy, and of course, once people trust us, then that gives us another dimension of resilience. I'm just suggesting that these are skills that can be acquired, can be developed, but sometimes we underplay their importance to resilience and to success. Giving and receiving feedback and advice, it can be tricky. Have you ever had a situation where you're genuinely giving solid advice and it gets thrown back in your face? Yeah, it's not as easy as it sounds. Some of these things, again, are nuanced, and by understanding, applying our DISCerning communication principles, we learn how to give feedback or give advice that lands the way that we want it to land, or we are able to take on board feedback and advice in the way that the person who given it would want us to. Important for us to understand that this communication strategy that is built around DISCerning communication makes a difference to how we communicate, how we interact, how we give instructions, how we give feedback, how we give advice, how we receive advice. Makes a difference. So what's the bottom line? Bottom line is that building resilience is enhanced by applying our DISCerning communication principles. It makes a huge difference to how we navigate life and how we make connections. And making connections is a key platform for building resilience. And so what we have done, essentially, is what the DISCerning communication model is about. Is that we took the DISC framework: dominance, influence, steadiness, conscientiousness, and we built effective communication, how we interact with others around it. So we have a whole body of information, text, and all sorts of content that helps people to understand how they could apply the DISC framework. A lot of people have DISC reports and they really don't understand what it means. I see that people come to me and say, "Oh, it says that I'm a D." Yeah, but so what? And they just bury down now that, okay, I'm a D, and you know. But that's not it. The whole idea is that you have these 4 toolkits, bags of tools actually, because within each of the 4 areas, there are tons of behaviors, styles, behaviors that you can use to navigate through life. So we have these 4 bags, and the whole idea is each bag is most appropriate in a specific given situation. And the beauty about this understanding is that we understand, we learn which bag of tools is best suited for which situations and how to apply it in those situations. So it's not magic. Sometimes we forget and sometimes we return to our favorite tool. But the bottom line is that there's an awareness. And what it helps us to do as well is to be able to receive information. We can understand that this person is communicating from this set of tools. Understand them in that context. He is not just a bully and dominant, etc. He wants us to move because he knows that time is of the essence, and that is why he speaks in this strong, powerful voice to say, "Please, guys, come on." Yeah, he might even shout, but he's coming from that desire for success for all of us. Yes, this guy asked another question, and oh my gosh, how many questions is he going? Because he doesn't want us to make mistakes. Understand the bag of tools that is coming from. Why doesn't she stand up? Why is she alone? She just wants peace. She doesn't want another conflict. So by stepping back and by listening, she just wants peace. That's it. Okay. So all I'm saying to you is, if we understand DISCerning communication, we can make a huge difference to individual and collective resilience. So, as I promised, next time we're going to look at how DISCerning listening enhances resilience. We continue to strive to provide valuable insights and actionable tips as we want you to strive, not only in your personal life, but also in your professional life. So here's an invitation. I'm really firmly of the belief that resilience is grounded on a deeper understanding of yourself, which can only come from doing a behavioral assessment. Right? Okay, fine. You might say, okay, I'm here, I'm selling something. Yeah, it's not a primary focus of these life courses, but yes, there is value in it. But I hope that I'm coming across, as you can see from the content and the value that we try to add. But this is important. I've seen it, I've been doing this for a couple of decades, and I can see the difference that it makes in people's lives. So here's what I'm suggesting. If you do one of the extended this behavioral DNA assessments, I will actually do what I'm paid for and to sit with you with the assessment and to say, hey, let us examine these areas that you might be aware of, but not in front of your mind, or here are some limiting factors and here are some go-to. So you just can send me an email at info@successwithpeople.org or send me a WhatsApp text. It's probably even easier, 876-535-6677. And we will talk and make it happen. So we also work with organizations to help them with their resilience. Who are we? We are Success with People Academy. We're part of the InfoServe group of companies. We're also a SHRM recertification provider. So when we do courses and programs, we actually are able to give you a seal stamp from SHRM, which means that you can apply those credits to your SHRM CP or SCP recertification. And basically, we use, as I said, we have the DISCerning communication model, and we build that upon granular behavioral DNA assessment from extended DISC on the Revolutionary Things platform. Let's have a conversation. Just talk. We don't have to make any commitments. So send me an email at info@successwithpeople.org, or you can just jump in and just set up a direct meeting on HubSpot, right? So 876-535-6677. Thank you, and may God bless you.